it's Alizah with Mirashali Village. Today I am sharing my binder for my 6th grade plus students for our biblical studies. I've had lots of requests for this on social media and otherwise, so I figured I would show you what our binder looks like. Now, a few things before I turn the camera around and share. One, I only load up our binders 6 weeks at a time. So the content that I'm going to share is going to be what we're going to be using, studying, learning, etc. for the first 6 weeks of school. Second, I want you to know that I am going to be teaching ancient history with biblical influence. I think that's the right way to say that. Or maybe it's better to say I'm going to be teaching ancient history alongside biblical characters and biblical events as well. Okay? This year we are going to be studying from Abraham into Joash, which is about the beginning of Genesis. Almost middle, until about 2 Kings. Okay, and so our very first week, we're just going to do a patriarch review, just hitting it high and low. These children already know this information, but I just want to do a quick review. And then the second week, we are going to go over the structure of the book of Deuteronomy before we go into our 9-week study of a weekly scheduled reading of Deuteronomy. That is going to take us until our 6-week break. Actually, we'll be stopping right in the middle of Deuteronomy on our 6-week break, and then we'll pick back up with the rest of Deuteronomy, and then we'll go into Joshua through Joash. And all the time, we'll be learning the biblical chronology, but we'll also be learning about other world events that happened during that time. Okay, so I'm going to share. I didn't get a lot of requests for my 3rd through 5th grade binder, so unless I get enough requests, I won't worry about doing a video for that. So this is 6 plus. I will say that the majority of it is the same. It's just the smaller children don't have like a weekly reading schedule, and it's one more thing they don't have, but I don't remember. Oh, their maps look a little bit different, kind of. MapQuest kinds of differentiate for me, so it'll be some difference there. But for the most part, it's the same. Probably the last thing that's very different is my older children keep a timeline, and they keep a biblical studies notebook where they have to actually record different content that I ask them to put in there, and I'll give you an example of that in a second. So I also get lots of questions about this, and I figured I'd just throw this in this video. Like, what all do I do when teaching Torah or when teaching biblical history? So I pretty much have a scheduled way in which I like to give them different mediums of learning. But I wrote this list here, so I'll run it off. So for the most part, in every single week, we have a Torah reading or a reading passage. We read in Hebrew and in English. We read in English a little bit more than we do in Hebrew, but we read in both. For any given week, I have a video summary. YouTube is full of summaries of the Parsha or summaries of a particular story or passage in the Tanakh. So I typically show them that mainly as an intro. We do Bible drills and Bible recitations. We do those normally twice a week. And I can go over how I do Bible drills and recitations if someone's interested. There is a craft or activity each week. Sometimes it's a recipe. We color and or illustrate each week. Sometimes I print off color sheets and they color. My older children, yes, I still make them color, but they have like fancier pencils, you know, a step above Crayola, if you will. And sometimes they paint and do different things, but I want them to color as well. Or sometimes we'll illustrate. I will tell them I want you to draw out what is going on in this passage, and then they give me a caption to go with their illustration. We do discussion questions, and I'll go over what that is in 1 second. We do notebook entries, like what I was saying my 6th graders plus do. We also do mapping exercises pretty much each week. We do timeline entries. We do what's in the Bible, which is, if you guys are the creator of VeggieTales, he also, I think his name is Phil Drescher or something like that. But he does what's in the Bible, and it's a really decent explanation and summary of what's going on with different events or different biblical stories, if you will. He also gives lots of history that's going on at the same time. So you get some world history or some ancient history included as well. And then we do Hebrew word study. So you'll see a lot of that in the binder when I show it. So an example of discussion questions. So I have my Google Classroom app up so I can give you some examples. So let's say for this particular day, they're going to read Genesis 12, and then some discussion questions would be, what promise did El make to Abram? Where was Abram living when he received this promise? Where did El tell him to go? So these are all discussion questions that I've already pre-written in order for us to talk about after we read a passage. An example of a timeline entry. So we're pretty much starting at the beginning. So they're putting down the Epic of Gilgamesh was the first written myth, 2600 BC, right? Or Abraham was born 2166 BC, etc. You get the point of that. A notebook entry. Okay, let me give you an example of a notebook entry. I think I have one with Moses that I can get to rather quickly. Okay. Nope, I don't want to read that one because it's a little involved. So let me see if there's one I can easily get to. Oh, I just saw that. We also have activity pages, which for the most part I create them, and we just learn about different people and different things going on at that time. Okay, here's an example of a biblical studies notebook entry. It says, write this in your notebook. What is the Mosaic covenant? Then record your answer. So of course that day we've already gone over it, and they're going to put that in. All right, so if you will give me 1 second, I'll turn the camera around and I will show you our notebook. Okay, so binder cover, and I leave this at the very beginning of their binder. It's just a parsha chart. So like we're starting with Deuteronomy, so they will enter the Hebrew name. So right here, Devarim, they'll just write Dalet, Veit, Resh, Yod, final Mem, then they'll write the meaning words, right? And there's 2 pages of that until we get through Deuteronomy. And remember I told you in the second week of school, they're going over an introduction of the structure of the book of Deuteronomy. So I kind of created this packet here for them to do that. And then just a reading schedule for my older children and a note for them to know what's going to go on. And then I have questions listed for this particular parsha or this particular passage. Sometimes these questions are oral, sometimes they are written. They'll put them in their notebook if it's written, and we'll discuss them if it's oral. And then I make one of these for each passage as well. We pretty much read the very first scripture in the passage, and I give them a word-for-word translation. And then we answer questions about the passage in our Torah study. And then I call this Hebrew happenings, but really they're just conjugating one of the verbs that was in the passage. In this case, it's deber. All right, and then remember I told you I do give them color pages, and then it just continues to follow that same cycle, right? So for the next passages, this is just what happens. The reading pages for Akev, the sheets, the color page, the reading for Re'eh, the sheet, the color page, etc. All right, and then in the Tanakh, we don't have anything in the Tanakh section now because we haven't made it that far yet for the first 6 weeks. Under maps, we'll be, and this is from MapQuest or Knowledge Quest. And I really like her map. She does a good job. So we'll be mapping Called Out of Ur, Mesopotamia, the Sumerians of Mesopotamia, Abraham's journey, ancient Africa, and ancient Egypt. This is notes. So for our notes section, I just take articles and kind of leave these spaces in them for them to write. So I do this when the content is a little, heavy or hefty. And I leave the spaces so that they can kind of follow along with me. It kind of keeps their attention as we're reading. And we just kind of popcorn read. And obviously I need to read the paragraphs that have the blanks in them so that they can actually put them in, right? And so we don't do this all in one day. This is over a few, days, but there we go. We do have another one, Ancient States and Empires. This is Abraham. I also have Ancient States and Empires Moses, but I haven't printed it yet because that one takes a little bit longer to tweak than this one. All right, and then who were the Sumerians, the activity page that I created? Who were the Egyptians, an activity page that I created? I think we have one more, who are the Israelites, but it's going to be in the next 6 weeks. And then worksheets are pages that I download from other sites. So this one's from Bible Pathway Adventures. They have very good worksheet material, proper images, nice and colorful, etc. So a quiz on Abraham, the Shema in English, the Shema in Hebrew. He'll have to write that. We'll do a little bit of research on Moses. They'll write the 10 Commandments. A quick activity on the reason they're doing this is because remember I told you about the recitation work. They'll be reciting, I forget which week it is, 6. They'll be reciting the books of the Tanakh. Biblical feasts, right before we go on break, we'll come back and have most of our fall feast. And this is just a way of reminding them and kind of saying, when we come back, we'll have this and we'll just talk about the feast that we are going to be observing when we come back from break. So we come back in October, yes, and the rest of them are, the 3 of them that we'll be observing are in October. So kind of do that, and then they'll be going over the 12 tribes of Israel as it appears in Numbers. And I keep a lot of these in the back because they're going to be writing and recording the Shema a lot this year. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing for the first 6 weeks of our biblical studies. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you.